That was nice of us. Okay, let's get started. As I was explaining earlier, last night, afternoon and night, I had significant trouble with my medication. So it was very hard to work, but I did my best. So we'll see how class goes today. Okay, Mike, would you give us the mandala, please?
Pleasure. Thank you. Sashi Puki Jukshin Me Tok Drum Rirabling Shi Nyinde Gen Padi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwargi Jokun Nam Dakshin La Drupar Shod Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami.
I go to refuge to I go for refuge to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create, from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of the Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. For the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, from the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Well, let's just see what we can do. Okay, so class 2 is going to be an outline of the Sutra on Discipline. And we're actually going to do an overview of the structure of the wish-fulfilling jewel, which explains the 16,000 pages of Vinaya. Then we're going to go into parts of it in greater detail for the rest of the course. The outline is reading number 2 if you get lost in the lecture. There's a lot of, the outline's rather complex, so if you get lost, it's in reading 2, and I'll do my best to have it make sense. Okay, so the obeisance in this particular text is to Lord Buddha, and there's a description of how over 3 times 10 to the 60th lives, he achieved enlightenment. And also has an explanation of the 2 root tasks, which we mentioned in class 1. Choni Lama's commentary on Master Guna Prabhu's Sutra on Discipline spends a lot of time on the life of Lord Buddha, because Vinaya is all about karma, actions, and consequences, which was what Lord Buddha's life was all about. We will get down the road, we'll be looking at the karma correlations, which is a fascinating document on listing the various karmas and what happens, why they, well, how can I put this? Karma correlation. So like, for instance, divisive speech leads to difficult roads to drive on. So there are correlations like that, which we can, in theory, use to explain various things that are happening in our life. So let me get started here. By studying the karma correlations, we can begin to see how past actions are painting the picture of our present world. Remember, we've talked about more than once, your past is your present. Your actions in the present help determine your future. So we need to go a little bit further into that. Your present situation is ripening from many lives of causes, black or white karma. Your reaction to the ripening karma sets the causes for good or bad results in the future. Therefore, and this is the part that it's really important to keep in mind as your days going by. And last night, when I was having difficulty with my medication and my symptoms, it was particularly difficult for me not to just blame the medication and the ignorant view of what was happening with my medication. So I didn't do as well as I would have liked. But anyway, okay. So reacting to unpleasant karma, ripening with wisdom and seeing it as purification leads to burning it off. So I apparently have a ton of karmic seeds for inconveniencing people. So I'm burning that off every day, every minute of every day, with the karma ripening for Parkinson's. So I've got to keep throughout the day, no matter how my medication's working or anything like that, I have to keep in the forefront of my mind to react to burning off with wisdom and not complaining. Otherwise, I'm setting the seeds for more karma, more Parkinson's in the future. So your future situation is a combination of your present actions and those of previous lives. In your next life, you're projecting karma. Your most prevalent actions in this life determines your next life in general. So, yes, the past is ripening as your present, and your present actions will ripen in the future. But it's important to remember that there's a mass of karmas from all your previous lives. And so, who's to say what's going to, well, how can I put this? Okay, so you've got this massive karma ripening from previous lives, and you've got a projecting karma ripening from the prevalent karma in this life. So it's nice to think that this life is going to be the prevalent karmas in the next life, so you can do something about your next life. But you've got countless lives worth of karma ripening in this life and next life. So you could easily get depressed with whatever you're doing in this life is not important. And the fact that there's so much other garbage is going to, baggage is a better term than garbage. Baggage is going to ripen in the next life. But I don't look at it that way. I think, and this is just me, this isn't scripture, but I think this life is the predominant measure of what your next life is going to be. The details fill in with all your past karmas. But I like to think of it, and again, I'm stressing this is my approach. I like to think of this life as being the major determiner for my next life. So if I burn off Parkinson's, if I react with wisdom, I'm going to have a more pleasant life hopefully without Parkinson's next life, even though I've got eons worth of karma ripening as well. So it gets a little confusing, but my thought is, like I said, this life is the predominant maker of the general outline of what's going to happen to me next life. So if I react with wisdom, I'm going to succeed in getting much of my difficulties of this life taken care of, I hope. So you're projecting karma as the most prevalent actions in this life. The details are the results of your past deeds and misdeeds. So next in the discussion Geshe Michael did for class 2, we needed to just review the 3 levels of reality. So Yungir, Svetlana, would you be comfortable in doing the pronunciation of the Tibetan for us?
Yungyur.
Yungyur. Thank you. This is obvious reality, that which we perceive directly with our senses. So that's pretty straightforward. Your taste, touch, etc. Kokyur, right? Kokyur is the deep, subtle reality. It's deep enough that it requires logical reasoning. So an example would be, I'm looking at a shelf, and I can only see the top part of the shelving. But my logic, my reasoning says that there's the rest of the shelf is resting on the floor of the room. I can't see it. So that reality is hidden from my direct senses, my yungyur, but I can logically surmise that the shelf has the rest of the shelving underneath and it's sitting on the floor. It's like when you're sitting in a classroom and you can't see the students. Oh, let's get a better example. You're sitting at the dining room table and you see your family there. Now you can't see them seated in the chair, the lower half of them, because the table is hiding it. But your kokyur, your reasonable, logical reasoning says that they're sitting on a chair, etc. That seems kind of obvious, but the first 2 are reasonably obvious. Shinto kokyur, extremely deep reality, a hidden reality, subtle workings of karma, the concept of total enlightenment and nirvana. So deeply hidden in something only an omniscient being can understand are the subtle workings of karma. So we've got Yungyur, obvious, We've got a cohere, which is sort of obvious because we're logically reasoning that something we see has a lower half to it. And then the Shinto cohere, which we will not understand that reality until we become an omniscient being. And this is where the idea of being able to see deceptive and ultimate reality simultaneously. I don't know. That blows my mind to think of being able to see all that at once. But that's what it means to be totally omniscient. So I guess I'll get to find out someday. Okay, let's see what else I want. So deeply hidden, subtle workings of karma, or deeply hidden, extremely hidden reality for me. We should think of Vinaya as a list of guidelines. Don't see them as strict rules inhibiting your life. See them as a guidebook to change your life, a positive approach rather than a negative approach. So we're going to use the karmic correlations later to work backwards. We see our reality now using the karmic correlations. We see what we don't like and use the karmic correlations to figure out what we did in order to generate it and what we need to do in order to improve. Okay. So now we're going to go into an explanation of the text, I hope. Okay. So the title of the book we're going to use is Vinaya Sutra. Vinaya means to tame or control wrong thoughts and sense desires. Sutra just means short book. This isn't something spoken by Lord Buddha. The obeisance. Obeisance is respect or deference. And this is in English, in the English language can be difficult for people to understand. It's like when we bow, we do a prostration. I think I mentioned in a previous class, I had a student who's actually a pretty well-known actress and a very nice lady, operated on a different level than me, but that's okay. She didn't prostrate for the first year she was a Buddhist because she didn't like what it meant to her. She saw it as submission. And I see it as deference or respect. So there was a king a long time ago, and I tried to find out who this king is, and I have not found it yet. So he required that Tibetan books have what is called the obeisance, the measure of respect. And if the beginning of the books has an obeisance to Lord Manjushri, then the text is going to be on wisdom and emptiness. If the obeisance is to Lord Buddha, it will be on Vinaya and Karma. If the obeisance is to Avalokiteshvara, it'll be on compassion. And if it's Buddha Vajradhara or Buddha Vajradharma, it's going to be on Tantra. Then in the text, they talk about the statement of purpose of the book. And it's important that the book have these 4 qualities we're going to discuss now. If it's a book, a Buddhist book, it has to have these 4 characteristics. Oh, what is going on here? Okay. Would that be Juja? Is that the correct pronunciation? Juja. The subject matter is meaningful. And Gupa, the purpose of the book we're studying is to plant seeds of ethics. The Nigyu, the ultimate goal of the text is enlightenment or nirvana. And Drelwa, the relationship between the prior three. So, to obtain nirvana requires wisdom, which is developed by studying this book. So, those four attributes we use to analyze this book, and it comes out on top. It comes out to attain nirvana requires wisdom. And if you study this book, you gain the wisdom. So it's a good text for reaching nirvana or total enlightenment. So obviously that would not apply to a book on science fiction or a murder mystery. So, but those aren't Buddhist books. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now to the actual commentary. So first off, how to get the vows properly. Again, you should see the vows as not limitations. See as helping you grow the wings to fly to total enlightenment. I like that. It's basically very positive, saying if you follow the text and you do what was required in the text, you're going to have the tools, the capability to metaphorically fly to enlightenment instead of walking, which is what Lord Buddha did over 3 times 10 to the 60th years. That's a lot of time. Okay. So we also learned, I need to point out, well, this is obvious, but good deeds done with vows have vastly greater karmic potential than those done without vows, and likewise bad deeds. We tend to talk about the bad deeds more than the good deeds, but in both cases, by having vows, you've increased the power of the vows, keeping them or not keeping them. We also learn the proper way to ask for vows and receive them so they are meaningful. One of the parts of asking for a teaching or asking for vows is you ask 3 times. And the 3 times technically are not supposed to be all at once. So if you ask me to be your teacher, it's up to me whether you can ask 3 times right away or you need to ask over extended period. I usually am pretty soft touch on this. If you want me to be your teacher, I don't think I've ever said no to anybody, nor have I said you have to ask 3 times. So, okay. There are 3 words that we see a lot, 3 titles we see a lot that I wanted to mention. Kenpo, let's see, that should be next. Kenpo is the name for abbot in a monastery. And Kensir, former abbot. And Ken Rinpoche, precious abbot. So Ken Rinpoche is precious abbot. Geshe Lobsang Tarchin was also the former abbot, so Kensir's in his title. So for all those that wondered what those titles meant, now you know. how to keep the vows after you get them. You rely on something called the Ne Lama. In a monastery, that's kind of the, oh, how could you put it? He's not, your Ne Lama is not your major instructor for a class. Your Ne Lama is, oh, well, who's this young lady? Lydia, what's her name?
It's Sophia. Yes, my daughter.
Sophia. How old is she?
She's 8.
Oh, well, hi, Sophia. Anyway,
Yep.
Your Ne Lama. Your Ne Lama is not your teacher. It's, how can you, what's a good analogy? It's not your best friend. It's a guide. You're not, you go to a Ne Lama with a question about how to do something, not a question about, well, you could ask them a question about a text you're learning, but they're not the class teacher. They kind of serve as a guide. And these are for young monks. I don't remember, I think it's something like 12 years until you reach your later teens. Another way to keep your vows is relying on inner support, remembering your intense desire to take the vows, how you swore to uphold them, and how you took vows to get out of the suffering life. So it's really, I can't emphasize this enough. Vows should not be seen as onerous and restricting. They are restricting, but they're restricting for a purpose, not to get you mad or anything, but to help guide you along the path. So, for instance, I had a student ask about near beer. I don't know if that's available in your neck of the woods, but near beer is legally not beer because it's below a certain alcoholic content. In my experience, after I took lifetime layperson vows, I had a near beer and I felt a tingle. I hadn't had any alcohol for years. And I actually never did drink all that much, especially not hard liquor. Um, anyway, so I took this near beer thinking it was uh, without any alcohol because it said alcohol free. So it says that on the bottle. I assume there's no alcohol in it. Well, it turned out that there was just a very tiny bit, but that little bit was enough to give me a sensation as it swept through my body. And I thought to myself, well, something's going on. So I looked at the bottle and I think it said point for some reason. And maybe Mike, you can help me with this. Is near beer 0.05 or 0.5% alcohol? Do you remember?
I think it's 0.5%.
Yeah, because regular beer, I think is 5%. Anyway, so the student was wondering if he'd broken and was his lifetime layperson vows and was doomed. And you do a 4-power. If you see, this is where motivation comes in. If your motivation was you drank that beer thinking it was alcohol free, because he hadn't read the label, then the fact that it wasn't alcohol free, to me, you made an innocent mistake. So you do a 4 powers of purification and you're done with it. Now, if you know it's got 0.5% alcohol, you shouldn't have drunk it. And that's a more serious breaking of a vow. So, for instance, when I was served that Bloody Mary on the plane, I didn't know it had alcohol in it. I took a sip and boom, there was alcohol in it. I knew that. So my motivation was I thought I was drinking tomato juice, and I was in reality drinking Bloody Mary. So, quick 4 powers, I took a little bit of alcohol into my system, and that was it. So, motivation. Now, it's easy to use motivation as a rationalization. You got to be careful. Okay. You need a good understanding of the factors that work against the vows. So you need to know the vows pretty well. What to do with conflicting vows, which has the priority. So we'll go over that as well. There are conflicting vows, especially when you get into Tantra, and you need to be able to understand in what situation what vow is super over. What's the term? Supersedes a vow that. Well, what's the term? A vow that overrides a lesser vow. There's a term for that. Anyway, so if you know your vows, and this is where the 6 times book comes in. Another part of how to keep the vows during once you receive them is sojang, which is confession twice a month for ordained. I encourage you to do sojang whether you're ordained or not, twice a month on the 8th and not the 8th, the 15th. I rely on the calendar for when sojang. Anyway, sojang is twice a month. You confess your transgressions and then promise to try and do better. And that's one way of keeping track of how well you've done during the 2 weeks in between confessions. There's a Yarne, which is a 3-month summer retreat, and then the Gaye, which is a 3-week celebration at the end of the retreat. So these are all aspects of keeping your vows that you need to focus on. Okay, let me see what else I had here. Oh, next class we'll go a little bit into how to restore your vows if they get damaged. Okay, now this is where it gets complicated. For some reason, at the end of this text, he talks about the wheel of life. And the first instruction in the text is the wheel of life should be put in the foyer of the temple. Did I describe what happened with the wheel of life at Diamond Mountain to all of you? Have I done that? Well, I'm going to do it again because I like the story. Okay, so we're at a teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Los Angeles. And we get there on the first day. It's pretty exciting. This is the first time we'd seen him in person. I'd seen him in person. Actually, that's another short story. The first time he came to Tucson was, I think, in 1998. Now, my wife was searching for the reason why her parents had passed away in this plane crash. And she did a long time search for it. And one of her searches was Tibetan Buddhism. So she went to a teaching on Tonglen, and the monk that gave the teaching mentioned at the end of the classes that His Holiness was coming to Tucson. So she got excited and signed up for the course. We signed up for a teaching by one of his resident students in Tucson so he would get the most out of what he was going to teach. And we housed a young nun when a lot of the ordained come to a teaching, they've obviously got to find places to stay. So we volunteered to take this young nun, really beautiful young lady in so many ways. So she and my wife went to the teachings. I, in hindsight, like an idiot, was too busy with my career to bother to go see His Holiness. Now, you'd think I was nuts. I was, but I wasn't a Buddhist at that point. So His Holiness was somebody interesting, but I had no concept of how important he'd be in my life. Anyway, so they go to the teachings and I make sack lunches for them. And so I've done my part to make sure that and I deliver them to the teaching. And my wife comes back one day and says, you'll never believe this, but the nun and I were out eating lunch, and all of a sudden the nun gets up and starts making prostrations. And my lovely wife turns around, and there's His Holiness walking about 20 feet away from her with one bodyguard. Now, if you think about it, now he's got bodyguards, and you can't get that close to him. But she was within like 15 feet of him. And the nun was going nuts because she was this close to His Holiness. So why did I mention that story? Wheel of Life. Well, because I liked it. It's a good story. That's why I mentioned many of my stories. Anyway, so the Wheel of Life. Okay, I need to go to a new end slideshow. Okay, file. Wheel of Life. Okay, here we go. Okay, you should be seeing a Wheel of Life. Yeah. Well, that's weird. Oh, I have no idea what that stuff at the bottom means. I've never seen that before. Anyway, so this is a Wheel of Life, and this is a presentation I gave in LA years ago. Oh, I know. We were talking about the Wheel of Life in the foyer of Diamond Mountain. So if you've ever been to Diamond Mountain, when you walk into the temple, there's this large tanka. It's about maybe 30 inches wide by 40 inches tall. Beautifully done. So we're at this teaching with His Holiness, and there's a Tibetan store that's on one of the levels in the basement of the conference center. So we go to the Tibetan store, and we walk in and we see this tanka. And I look at it and I say, we need to buy that for the temple at Diamond Mountain. We need to do that. My wife, who's a little more pragmatic with our money than I am, said, well, let's think about it. We'll come back tomorrow and buy it. And I said, no, I don't say no to my wife very often. That's the secret of 50 years of marriage, almost. Anyway, I said, no, I have a strong feeling we need to buy it now. So we did. And the next day we went down to look at the other tankas, and the store was not there. So if we hadn't purchased it that day, we would not have been able to buy it. So I always look at that as the sign that we were supposed to buy it. And now it's at the entry to the temple. Not many people know the story of how it came to be, but I get a very warm feeling whenever I walk into the temple and see it and realize the story behind it. It just makes my heart feel good. Okay, so let's see here. There's a 7-part instruction on how to draw the wheel of life. There are 5 spokes representing the 5 realms of existence, or 6 pleasure beings, split into 2. So this is a little bit backwards from the text we're describing, but so how do I want to do this? There we go. So if you look carefully at this image, you see that there are 6 spokes, right? You see there's 6 spokes, and these are the 6 realms of existence. 5 realms of existence, or 6, as the pleasure beings are split into two sections. They're Bardo beings. So in the middle, I'm sorry, this is probably not. So it goes into each of the realms. And in the middle, you have the Bardo beings, which are on the going down into the hell realms on the right, or going to the good realms on the left. In the middle are the 3 poisons. There's the rooster or pigeon is desire, liking things ignorantly, and the snake is anger and aversion. Geshe Michael mentions, if there's an authentic old original version of the Wheel of Life, the tails of the rooster and the snake, the tails of the rooster and the snake are coming out of the pig's mouth, signifying how the source of all our problems is not understanding how karma and emptiness are the 2 sides of the same coin. The 12 links, which are here, the 12 links were listed here represent the stages of samsara and stages of life, the process of birth and rebirth. And everything is in the clutches of Yama, the Lord of Death. So you see that I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor? No? How about now? You see it now? There you go. Okay, this is the Lord of Death, and he's got samsara, the wheel of life, in his clutches. The monster of impermanence. How your very own acts, your ignorance is killing you day by day. Now so here's Yama, here are the 12 links, and here are the 6 realms, and the bardo beans, and the rooster, snake, and pigeon. So there are 2 other things, well, there are 3 other things to look at here. There's Lord Buddha. He should be outside the 5 realms, pointing to a heavenly body. The heavenly body is the moon over here, and that's pointing, that represents nirvana. At the bottom are 2 verses. The first verse, and I don't think this is separated into 2. Oh, that's right. At the beginning of it, he talks about there. There are 2 verses at the bottom of the Wheel of Life, an authentic Wheel of Life. And one of them is, take this up and give that up, enter into the Buddha's teaching, destroy the forces of the Lord of Death like an elephant crushing a house of reeds. Geshe makes the point that amazingly lost in most teachings on the Wheel of Life is the fact that it's a teaching on ethics, taming one's mind to sense desires in order to break the cycle of rebirth. So why they mention the Wheel of Life in this text, I have no idea. So that's not a very long class, but that's what I have for today. And I apologize. The last night was very unpleasant, and I couldn't work very hard on my computer. So next week's class will be hopefully more coherent. You've got enough to do the homework. So oh, there's a picture of the Tanaka. Huh. So if there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them. It's a lot of information. It's hard to give it in a cohesive manner. But we'll get to the meat of it with the karmic correlations. I once wanted to make a list, to compile a list of all the karmic correlations for use in studying it. And the more I thought about it, and then I heard about the Shinto Kokir and how only a Buddha can understand the subtle workings of karma. And I decided, since I wasn't a Buddha, at least that I'm aware of, I wasn't going to be able to understand the subtle teachings. So I decided not to do that. Okay. Well, let's oh, we didn't do rejoicing. Shame on me. Okay, let's do some rejoicing. Let's start with Svetlana. What do you have to rejoice about?
Thank you so much. I'd like to rejoice for communications with my colleagues today. It was calm and peaceful day, and instead of to be in a rush to do many things, try to pay attention what my colleagues are telling me, what they want to share, and it's just such a pleasure to give attention to others and be supportive for them. And I rejoice that we have that wisdom which can be helpful to be better people for others, and dedicate that we always have support and understanding from each other.
Good. It's never, I think it's easy to talk yourself out of doing things that help others, especially if they're not very receptive to it. But it's important to not let that get in the way of doing the things with the action you want to have ripen in your future. So if you ignore people, you're going to be ignored in the future. If you help people, you'll be helped in the future, especially if you dedicate it. So, okay, Katerina, what do you have to rejoice in?
Dear Sumati, I rejoice that I support other people, children in the school, and also my children to learn because in Russian.
Sure.
Я радуюсь, когда у меня сегодня получалось поддерживать других в том, чтобы они учились, детей в школе, и также своих детей. Я понимаю, это приносит мне радость, и также я понимаю, что у меня будет возможность, посвящая тому, чтобы у меня тоже была возможность продолжать обучаться в Дарме. И радуюсь, что у меня сегодня было время сделать йогу и учить источник всех благ. И сегодняшнее занятие.
I'm not hearing the translation. What was the translation of what she said?
Okay, is the translation?
I've got it on.
Okay, I can translate. Yeah, I'm rejoicing that I was supporting children at schools in their studies, and I'm dedicating, and I believe it will help in my further studies of Dharma. And also, I rejoice in learning, reading the source of all my good, and have some practices.
Good. How's your memorization of Source of All My Good going, Katrina?
Я получила 4 строфы, sorry.
I learned 4 links,
Good.
4 lines.
Good. That's a good start. Okay. Oksana, what do you have to rejoice in besides my remembering your name? You need to unmute your mic. There you go.
Я радуюсь тому, что сегодня я помогла тоже моему сотруднику записать его ребенка в школу, потому что сегодня в России последний день записи в школу с первого класса, ну, запись в школу, ну, первоклашек. Вот. Он не смог все лето, у него там проблемы были с документами, а я его сегодня ему помогла, он тоже так обрадовалась. Обрадовалась то, что вы мне сегодня приснились и подарили 2 конфеты. Ранее. Я прямо радуюсь. Радуюсь, что я Свету вижу, свою любимую, что девочек с ретрита, Лидочку, Екатерину. Вообще рада, прямо невозможно.
Okay.
Там вот хлопаю в ладоши.
I am rejoicing that I helped my colleague to enroll his child into school. That is the first grade pupil, and today was the last day to enroll to the school. So I helped him to manage it. And also, I rejoice that I am seeing all of you here, all girls from the retreat. And I rejoice that I had you in my dream and you gifted me a candle. A candy, a candy.
And well, what flavor was it?
Я ее обещала повесить на елку на Новый год. Почему-то я ее завернула, сказала я, и вы сказали хорошо.
I
Но была
promised that,
шоколадная конфета.
oh, it was chocolate candy, and I promised that I will put it on a New Year tree.
Good. Okay. Okay, Lydia, what do you have to rejoice in besides having a lovely daughter named Sophia?
Thank you very much, dear Lama Sumati, for this class. I, of course, rejoice that today I am here with you. And also, I was in hospice today, and I go there quite often. And I helped people care about them and shared some gifts and some food. And for me, it's very special day when I'm in hospice.
Oh, good. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, rejoice and dedicate. That's a wonderful opportunity. Okay, Mike, where are you?
I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
In Pennsylvania. Oh my
I'm just
God.
bouncing around all of this.
Yeah.
So a while ago, I got my dad a walker because he hurt his foot,
Hmm.
and he's since gotten better. But I just learned that he has given now the walker to the neighbor, and the neighbor is now using the walker. So
Oh, good.
I wanted to rejoice about the second person that's getting goodness, and now someone else is collecting goodness with something that I provided them. So now they can give what was given to them.
Excellent. That's the it's a chain of generosity that generates so much good karma. I found my balance was part of my problem yesterday was balance. So I brought up my walker and I'm starting to use that in the house because I want to get my posture back. And if I use a walker, I'm more erect than if I try and stumble around without a walker. So what it means is a new phase in my Parkinson's, and I'm not particularly happy about that, but it is what it is, and all I can do is make the best of it. So rather than stumble around and be bent over, I decided I'd get the walker up and start using it. And I feel much better having done that. So, okay, Anna, do you have anything to rejoice in?
Hello, everyone. Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. Can you hear me? About my rejoicing, I visited the nursing home some days ago, and for me, like for dear Lydia, it's also a very special day. I rejoice about my friends. There were three, oh no, we were five people, me and one more girls. We were visiting elder people. It was very, very cheerful and careful. It was very special day for me. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, thank you you're setting the seeds so when you're that age, you'll have people come and spend time with you. I think we don't well, those of you that are much younger than I, which I guess is everybody, you don't really understand what the future is going to bring until you're 70 and the future is bringing it. So do what you can now to set the seeds for when you're much older. You'll never regret it. Okay, Daria, what do you have?
I'm rejoice. I'm rejoiced to see a lot of people who came this class, and I'm very happy because I see you, Lama Sumati, very happy to see a lot of people, and it's someday I agreement with street cat. He came to our jobs and tried to catch the bird. And I say, okay, don't put these birds. And I bring to you the food. And maybe someday, today and no, yesterday and today I didn't see this cat, but I bring to him food. And
good.
I fed birds too.
Okay. Well, by doing that, Geshe says when you feed animals, you are setting seeds to have that mind stream become a student of yours. So you're going to have the mind stream that's the current cat and birds is going to ripen down the road as students that will come to your teachings. So I think that's pretty sweet. Tatiana, thank you for interpreting. Do you have a rejoiceable? Yes. Wow, nice. Thank you for interpreting. I try to speak slowly, although I don't do that well. So I appreciate your efforts. Okay, my turn to rejoice. Well, I rejoice in that I get a chance to teach and get to see your smiling faces. That's always very positive. I rejoice that I caught myself being negative at last night when I was having trouble with the medication. And I tried very hard to not get angry, not blame the medication for not working. And eventually it did. And I rejoiced that I had the karma for it to work to where I could fall asleep. Because what happened is I get these jolts of energy down my legs and sometimes down my arms. And it's very uncomfortable. I can't do much when I'm getting these jolts every 30 seconds or so. So part of me was worried that the medication I take for my body's gotten so used to it that it doesn't work anymore. But it's working today, and that's the good news. I'm going to talk to my doctor and see if there's something we can do. The trouble with this particular medication is too much of it will damage my heart. So if I keep upping the dose to take care of the energy jolts, I'm potentially damaging my heart. So this is going to be an interesting thing to balance down the road. But I'm not worried about that now. I'm just rejoicing in the fact that it worked last night finally, and I got a good night's sleep. So, okay. We'll see everybody on Tuesday. and we'll proceed along the path of vows and what they mean and why you're all going to take them someday. Okay. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Nice day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Большое спасибо за перевод.
Да, спасибо за перевод большое. И тебе, Светочка, спасибо, тоже поддержала.
Русский канал нет, я не включала, но материалы они вот помогали, главное содержание занятия передать. Ага. Ну, ничего страшного, главное вот материал тот, который, ну, вот суть занятия передать, вот, это, ну, базовое, основное, вот, а то, что примеры, там, разговоры, rejoicing в конце и так далее, ну, это вот уже как бы вот такое дело, вот, а вот главная суть вот это, то, что вот, ну, материалы. Ну, да, да, конечно, там, как. В любом случае, спасибо большое вообще, спасибо, что пришли, нашли возможность и помогли. Спасибо, Танечка, большое. Всё супер. Да, давай. Хорошего вечера.